Hello, my name is Vivek Tandon. I'm the CEO of EB5 BRICS, your gateway to the US EB5 Investor Visa Program.
EB5 visa cost. What is the EB5 visa program?
EB5 is the US Investor Visa Program whereby an investor would invest $800,000 into a development project in the US. The project would create 10 jobs on the investor's behalf, and on that basis, the investor can get a conditional green card, which is also an immigrant visa to the US.
What factors influence the total cost of an EB5 visa application in 2023?
When thinking about costs and fees for an EB5 visa, one has to take into account three things. One is the regional center admin fee, also called the management fee. Number two is the immigration lawyer's fees. And three is the USCIS filing fees.
What are the fixed fees and variable fees in an EB5 visa application?
The fixed fees in an EB5 visa application are the government filing fees, which are at actuals, and the variable fees are usually the immigration lawyer's fees and the admin fee charged by the regional center.
What is an EB5 investment?
An EB5 investment is an investment by a foreign individual that is expected to create 10 jobs in the US economy, and on that basis, that individual would get a conditional green card.
How much is the minimum investment for an EB5 visa in 2023?
The minimum investment amount for EB5 visa in 2023 are $800,000 for a project located in a targeted employment area or a rural area, and for projects that are not in a targeted employment area or a rural area, the minimum investment amount is $1.05 million.
What are the valid sources of EB5 investment?
Valid sources of EB5 investment could be salary, savings, gift from parents, share sales, sale of properties, and many other things.
How to prove lawful sources of EB5 funds?
In order to prove that one's EB5 investment came from lawful sources, they must prove where the money came from. From root to shoot, one has to document the source of funds for their EB5 investment. How was the money earned? How was the money saved? How was the money grown over a period of time? And things of that nature.
Are the EB5 investment amount and processing costs different for direct projects and regional center projects?
The EB5 investment amount and processing costs for direct projects and regional center projects are very similar. One should budget about $75,000 in costs and fees when it comes to a regional center EB5, and between $50,000 to $60,000 when it comes to a direct EB5.
Is there a difference in EB5 visa fees for applicants outside the US compared to applicants within the US?
There isn't much of a difference in EB5 visa fees if one were to apply from outside the US versus applying within the US. The real difference is that within the US, one would file for something called adjustment of status along with their EB5 application, and when somebody's outside of the US at the time of the I-526 approval, they would go through something called consulate processing, which is basically interviewing at the local consulate or US embassy.
Should all the money be invested before filing an I-526 petition?
While technically an investor can make a partial investment, which basically means not necessarily remit the entire $800,000 in investment amount before they can file their I-526 petition, but as a practical matter, it is recommended that one is fully invested before filing their I-526E application. A partial investment should be the exception, not the rule.
How does the partial payment process for EB5 work?
Partial investment is not recommended for EB5. However, if one really needs to make a partial investment and file an application, basically they would invest part of the $800,000 into the project or direct business that they're looking to invest in, and then within a reasonable period of time remit the remaining amount.
What are the requirements for partial or installment EB5 investments?
There are no requirements as such for partial or installment EB5 investments. It's primarily up to the regional center to see if they can allow an investor to remit part of the funds, file the application, and then remit part of the funds later. The law does require that you have to be in the process of investing, and the law does give you up to 2 years to make that entire investment.
Are there additional fees for EB5 partial payments?
No, there are no additional fees for EB5 partial payments.
Do EB5 investors get their money back?
EB5 investors should have every expectation to get their money back, but of course, they should always be doing a lot of due diligence on the project, on the regional center, and always engage with professionals to both guide them on the investment side as well as the immigration side.
What is the rate of return for EB5 investments?
The rate of return for EB5 investments can be as low as 0.25 point to 5%, and these are all risk-adjusted returns. It is advised that one look to mitigate and minimize their EB5 risk and not focus on the rate of return for EB5, rather focus on making sure that they will be able to get their green card, and then there's a good expectation of getting the monies back once the immigration cycle is complete.
Is a U.S. bank account needed to become an EB5 investor?
Generally, one does not need a U.S. bank account to become an EB5 investor because usually the money goes from the investor's account in the foreign country to the project's escrow account in the U.S., or if the investor is already in the U.S., their money goes from their U.S. bank account again to the project's escrow account.
What is an EB5 escrow account?
An EB5 escrow account is the project's escrow account that is held for the benefit of the EB5 investors and managed by the general partner, who is also the regional center.
Is the EB5 visa taxable?
No, the EB5 visa is not taxable, but once an investor becomes a U.S. green card holder and a U.S. permanent resident, they are expected to file tax returns in the U.S.
Is the EB5 visa worth it?
Yes, the EB5 visa is absolutely worth it, especially for individuals who are in the U.S. studying or working, and they'd like to have a leveled playing field when it comes to applying for jobs. U.S. permanent residency would allow them to live anywhere, work anywhere, study anywhere, and be completely independent and not be employer dependent or need sponsorship to stay or work in this country. For investors that are already outside the U.S., the biggest benefit is that they can immigrate with their family to the U.S. and be a permanent resident on day one. And of course, the family includes the investor, the spouse, and unmarried children under the age of 21 at the time of application.